So I have some other things I've been working on for research-wise. If you like that kind of thing, you may like The Forgotten Son. So I have this little black book of mine here. My inside out mitt is coming quite along. Good morning, friends. I'm sorry I'm talking a little bit low right now. It is really early in the morning. And the kiddo does not need to get up for another about 45 minutes for school. So I'm just trying to stay a little bit quiet and not wake him up earlier than it needs to be. But anyway, yes, I thought I'd take you along with me today. I'm going to do a little bit of a day in the life of a small-time author and take you along as I do go about my day. So obviously I'll be doing some work on my book, how I go about doing, I guess, a little bit of my research I've been doing, and I have some errands and things to run, and show you I started to do some knitting and things like that. So I haven't knit, I think, in about 10 years, and I am no expert when it comes to knitting by any means. And my grandmother used to do a lot of knitting, and she was a really good knitter, but I basically have done the basics. I did make a pair of mitts once. I've made, obviously, a scarf, because I think everybody does a scarf. If you're hearing that, that's Penny scratching the couch. She probably wants her squirrel to come on. She doesn't want the news on. And I've started making a sweater once, a cable knit, and I had a coworker show me how to make the cable knit pattern that was in the sweater. And I had worked on that, 10 years ago. And then somehow in my transport to and back, everything came off the needles, and I couldn't remember where I was. So I ended up having to tear the whole thing out, and I didn't try again. That was kind of like my last so it's been 10 years since I've done any knitting, but I've started. I picked up some yarn. It's just from Michael's. It's a pretty color. It's kind of like a teal turquoisey color, so it's really pretty. So I'm making some mitts, and so I'm following the pattern, and I kind of messed the pattern up. I mean, I've made a few mistakes. I think I restarted this like 4 times. And then a couple of times I picked up an extra stitch, and I couldn't figure out how I did it, but I twisted the stitch is what I did, I realized later. So after trying to redo it, I said, I just stitched them together and then kept going. So it's imperfect, but that's okay. So this is just the cuff part of it, and I did make it, my little mistake too is I made it about that much too long. It's supposed to have a long cuff, but I read the pattern, and even though I read the pattern several times, I kept reading it wrong, and I read the amount of stitches to start, which I got right. I also read it as the number of rows to go up, and I couldn't figure out why it needed such a long cuff. It didn't. It only needed to about here. So this is going to have an extra long cuff, and that's okay. So I'll just match it. I didn't want to tear it out and try to deal with that again. So I'll just match it, and this will just have some extra long cuffs. But anyway, so it's for not knitting. It's not that bad. No, it's hard to see. I'll show it better when it gets a little bit later in the day. So I do have to now start on the next step, and my other needles that I have of knitting needles, I don't know where they're at. So I think I'm going to have to run into Michael's. I have to take the kiddo to school this morning, so I think after that I'll run into Michael's and pick up the next size in the pattern. I also don't have any markers or things like that. I said I'm not an expert knitter. So I'm going to go pick up some markers just to mark my little areas in that, because I'll be putting the next section on, and then that means marking a section for the thumb and all of that. So anyway, come join me today as I go about my day. I'll be doing some cooking, I'll be doing some writing, talking about my research. I also have This book here is what I'm reading at the moment. I just started it. I kind of got the backstory on it, which is this lady's mother. It's based on like kind of a diary entries that these, I think, 3 or 4 ladies. Let's see. 3 or 4 ladies, and they were all friends, and one of them is her mother, and they do a bicycle ride from Nova Scotia's South Shore to PEI in 1943, I believe it is. And so she came across these diary entries that the ladies all wrote, and they all had different points in their lives and stuff. Some were single, some were married and that, but they went on this bicycle journey during the middle of the war. And so anyway, this Anne Barry came up with the story based on those diary entries. So as I said, I only got as far as the backstory of what it all was. And so I'm going to do some more reading on that, and I'll inform you on that. So now I'm just going to watch some news and then get the kiddo out the door for school, and then we'll go from there. Kiddo dropped off, so I'm at Michael's now. So let's go see if I can find my knitting needles and the markers. All right, so excuse the sound with my car, sounding a little bit noisy. But anyway, I got what I needed. Well, first, this wasn't on my list, but I saw it. It was like just a grocery list thing. And so I thought I'd try to see if it makes me, be a little bit more organized in the grocery store, instead of trying to go through my list and go, which stuff is where. Anyway, I got that. It was $2.99, but I was able to use a 40% off coupon, so it cost like $2 or something. And then I picked up the stitch markers here, and they have little clips on them, so if I need a note, I can add them. She was actually very nice, and she let everything be split up into 3 transactions, so I was able to use the coupon and everything. So I got 40% off that, so it was like $4. And then I picked up the knitting needles I needed here, which are the US size 5, the 3.75 millimeters. And so now I can start the next section of my mitts, and I was able to use a 40% off coupon for that. So this was like $5. So I think I spent maybe $11 or something like that total. So that was pretty good for all of those things, I think. And considering, well, actually these weren't, but another size of these were like $10. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna head home, and then I'm going to probably do some writing or something. Anyway, I'll check in when I get home. So I've been sitting here working on my book. My laptop is just down here below me, and I'm taking a little bit of a break, and I'm having some yogurt and berries. This is not something I normally eat because I'm actually lactose intolerant, but my nutritionist suggested I try some yogurt made from goat's milk, and because she said sometimes people can tolerate that. So I got some vanilla yogurt here. I've added some fresh strawberries to it, and so we're going to see how that goes. But I've been typing my book. I'm not going to show you the manuscript itself, but I'll talk a little bit about what I've been doing. So I have this little black book of mine here, and in it I have like character name ideas, and I write some like important war dates to do with like Britain and Newfoundland and things like that. So I've put them in there, and then your places for European dates. I've been doing research for like a while on this, and then I have some outline notes for my book as well in here, and then I have a section where like certain things inspire different
scenes. I'm like, oh, that would work really good in a scene. And so I've written further down here, I just gotta find it, some writing snippets and things like that. And so I have like just little scenes and things that come to mind so I can remember them. I also have them on my notes app on my phone. So if I'm out and about and I'm like, oh, something just inspired me, or like the other night we were watching a couple of war movies and that for around Remembrance Day, and I was certain things all got me thinking about different scenes in my own book. And so I was like, oh, it's like, so I saw something, I'm like, oh, and then it would inspire something like, oh, maybe this will happen to this character, or this will happen. And just kind of gave me some like things just to think about, or like how something looks visually, just so when I go to describe some sort of scene. So I've been going through a lot of archive photos. So the book I'm looking on, I guess I should say, is a historical fiction piece set during World War II. And it takes place between Newfoundland and England. And so that's kind of the main theaters, I guess you can say, in the book, main locations. So have some other things I've been working on for research wise. I've been starting to read a little bit about the guest children. So I've got all these little note tabs. And so I might incorporate a little bit of something to do with them. I don't have it in my outline right now, but you never know. You never know, you might turn the page and find something else. I also have a couple of books here that I've been going through, the untold stories of Newfoundland. So some historical stuff, and there's some stuff to do with World War II and different stories around what was happening. I have a brief history of St. John's as well. I have this book here too, and it's the Battlefront Newfoundland. So it talks about Newfoundland during World War II and the battles involved and all of that. So I've picked up that. I've been going through that. And then I also have this book here, The Newfoundland Tongue. So it kind of gives a lot of little slang words, or like different vocabulary words or sayings and that. Now, I haven't put any of them in there right now for this draft. So what I'm doing is, this is my first draft of my book. So my outline is done. I have a lot of my research done and ideas, but to add little extra flavor things into it. So I'm just, what I'm doing now is to get the book out in typed format. Now, I work between both paper and computer, so sometimes I will write it out on paper first to get my ideas out and then type it up. But for today, I'm actually just going to sit straight at the computer and see what comes out. I'm trying to hopefully get the rough outline done by the end of this year. And then I can go in and then add more flavor and things to the different various scenes. But just to kind of get the basics out, I would like to get that by the end of the year. So that's kind of my goal. And I have sort of a rough, if it's not very much when you think about it, but I have a rough 500 word goal to do every single day. And we'll see how that comes out. If I do more, great. But if I can get at least 500 words out, which is really not that much when you think about it, but if I get 500 words out a day, then maybe little by little, and then some days I might write more, and maybe we can get the whole thing out by the end of the year. So we'll see. So that's kind of the goal, what I'm doing at the moment. But as I said, I'm about to take a break here. Excuse the shaking of the camera, but I'm about to take a break, and I'm going to try this little yogurt and berries for a snack, and then get back to work here on the book. I need a little break from writing. However, I did get my minimum, actually I got more than my minimum word count, and I have close to 700 words written. So that's pretty good. I did my minimum and above, so that's good. And I'll probably go back and do a little bit, maybe more writing later on. My neck has just had enough of me sitting and down and trying to work at a computer. I've been having a lot of neck issues, and that's causing like pain right across my shoulders and down my arms and into my fingers, and losing feeling and tingling. Anyway, we're all trying to figure it out. But yeah, so I just have to listen to what my body's doing, and it's screaming at me now that I need to not be sitting at a computer. So I'm going to do something else and that I can rest my neck, and I'm going to work, I think, more on my yarn, and I'll probably maybe watch a video or two of YouTube at the moment. I have to switch now to my bigger needles that I purchased, so I'm going to work on that, and then maybe I'll check in a little bit. So I have a question for any knitters out there, because as I say, I am not an expert. It's been 10 years since I knit anything, and I did something wrong, I think. I think I must have flipped my stitch before I started this whole thing. So my right side is actually inside. So because I noticed, because I'm supposed to be like knitting around, and I noticed the wrong side, quote unquote, is on the outside there, and like, you know, the nice knit stitch is on the inside. But if I flip it, and I don't know if I did something wrong, or if it's maybe the way I learned to knit. My grandmother taught me to knit. She was left-handed, but I thought she knit right-handed though. So, because I know she did a lot of things right-handed, even though she was left-handed. So maybe that is how she did it, and maybe it will work if I just continue on and I can just flip maybe just flip it inside out when it's done. I can't remember. You know, it's been like 10 years since I did mitts. So I don't know. I just noticed that it's actually on the outside. And I did flip this thing inside out to see if I could just, you know, pick it up, but then the string's on the wrong end. So I must have just did it backwards, which I'm sure I can figure it out. It just, yeah. Anyway, let me know. Am I doing this like wrong and it's okay that it's on the inside? Like, I don't know. I know I watched somebody when I was trying to figure out, when I was reading the pattern, because next, after I kind of go about 1.5 inches up, I have to like knit and then put like the markers for the thumb. And that was, I was a little bit nervous about. And I was watching somebody knit it. So I looked it up online and watched a little YouTube video, and they hold their needles completely different than me. And so I'm not sure if maybe they're left-handed and that's why the way they were holding the needles was knitting left-handed, but it just seemed like it was completely backwards to how I hold it. So maybe I am knitting it left hand. I don't know. But I just noticed that the right side is on like the inside, and that it should be on the outside, but the outside has the rough end on it. You can't even really see it there. You can see it there. I don't know. Let me know. Excuse the car noise again. So I just ran into the drugstore because I'm dealing with bad heartburn, so I had to pick up some Gaviscon because I had some milk, that didn't help. I had the yogurt, that didn't help. And so I just need to take something. I have medication I usually take. I just ran out of it, and I can't order any until I get paid next week because it's expensive. So anyway, I just picked up some of the Gaviscon and a bag of chips, because I think we're doing family night, movie night sort of tonight. I'm not sure if we're going to watch a movie, if we're going to watch the TV show Ghosts. We had been watching that, and we haven't watched the last number of episodes, so we might have to catch up with that. But yeah, I think I know what I did wrong. I watched another video trying to figure out what happened with my knitting, and I noticed that every time I watch other people doing the round, I'm going this way, connecting everything, and they're going this way. And it seemed, and I just did it that way because that's where my string was. So I don't know if it's just that I cast on differently, if that's what happened, because I just cast the way that my grandmother did. At least I think I did. So I don't know if I cast backwards and that's what happened. So because my string is like on the, well, no, I don't know what I did. I just noticed that when I was watching the videos, they're like, I go this way and everybody else is going this way in the ones. And I was like, oh, well, I can't go that way because it's the opposite side. So I think that's obviously what is going wrong. is just, yeah, I'm maybe reverse stitching, I think is what's happening. I don't know. Anyway, so I think I'm just going to be knitting this mitt inside out is what's going to happen. It'll be fine. I'm sure I'll figure it out I'll just tackle the mitt and then we'll come back to the thumb. and when I do the thumb, we'll figure out how to get it to stitch so it won't be inside out when I flip it all back around. So anyway, that's that. I'm gonna head home because I have to make some supper for us all, and then we'll see where we go after there. All right, so I'm in my kitchen making supper. And so I'm wanting to make this creamy tomato spinach chicken pasta dish. It calls for fettuccine. I don't have any, but I do have the tagliatelle. So I'm going to cook that up. It also calls for cherry tomatoes, which I do not have, but I have Roma tomatoes here, and so it calls for several cups. So I'm going to chop these up and use them. So first things first, it says to cook the pasta and then put some olive oil, salt, pepper, and some rosemary and put it in the oven and roast the tomatoes. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I have a pan here. The tomatoes are roasting. They somehow set the fire alarm off. Go figure. My pasta is cooking, and so it calls for rotisserie chicken. I don't have rotisserie chicken pre-cooked, but I do have this fully cooked chicken breast strips, and so they're frozen still. So I'm going to put them in the pan with a little bit of avocado oil and just start defrosting them, and then I'll add the cream, which was supposed to come before this, but anyway, I'm going to add the cream. Now I'm going to add a couple of extra little seasonings because the only thing it calls for is Italian seasoning. I don't think that's enough flavor. It calls for crushed red pepper too, and I don't know if I'm going to put that in. So it has no garlic in it, so I'm putting garlic in it because I think it needs garlic. And I think instead of the crushed red pepper, which is kind of more spicy, I'm going to put this roasted garlic and peppers in instead, seasoning, which is so good. And so I'm tweaking the recipe a little bit and making it work. But I'm going to do up the chicken first, and then I'll start putting the cream sauces and everything together. I'm totally going rogue here. So I have that all done. The chicken, no longer frozen, it's getting heated up nicely. So I'm going to put some garlic in, and then I'll put the seasonings in, and I'll coat that on the chicken. And then I'll put the cream in, and I don't know what's supposed to thicken this sauce. So it says to put Parmesan cheese as the garnish on top, but I'm actually, I think, going to put it right in the sauce, and so that will thicken it a little bit. I told you I'm going totally rogue, so I'm no longer following the recipe. It was merely guidelines. So I'm going to add my spinach here. So I need about 2 cups or so of spinach. So this is baby spinach and it's already washed and ready to go. That's going to wilt right down. And now I have my tomatoes also in here, and I'm going to take them out of the oven and add them as well. I'm going to cover this over, let it all kind of cook down, and we'll see how it tastes and what it looks like and what it might need from there. So that's it there. I'm just going to let it kind of incorporate a little bit more. I did taste the sauce before I mixed everything in, and it does much better now that I put garlic in it. And I mixed the Parmesan cheese right in. I did add a few more tomatoes from what was roasted because what I had chopped up kind of like disappeared to nothingness. So I just added a few fresh ones in as well. And the spinach is all in there. And I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be good. Supper's all done and it was good with those modifications that I made. And based on that, we definitely would be having it again. So we're just sitting down now. We're going to watch Ghosts, and I have my backwards mitt, and I'm going to continue on as I watch it. And as I said, I think I'm just going to sew it all up, make the spot for the thumb, and then once the rest of the mitt is complete, I'll come back to the thumb and I'll figure out how to put the thumb together to make sure that it's not backwards to everything else. Yeah, and then I'll see if I can fix it on mitt too. So I think we watched 3 episodes of Ghosts. So I have been working on this. So my inside out mitt is coming quite along. Well, so I've done it up to where I need to put the insert in for the thumb. I'm not sure if I'm going to work on that anymore tonight, but I think it's only about 10 after 7 or so. So I think I'm going to actually pull out my computer again and see if I can write 300 more words. Because if I can do 300 more words, then I've got like 1,000 words in today. So it'll be double my goal, which would be great. So I'm going to go do that tonight, right now, and we'll see how we do. So I decided just to take a break for today on writing. I got beyond my goal of the 500 words, and I was going to try to push it, and I decided I'm not going to. I'm going to just chill for the rest of the evening. It is Friday evening here. But anyway, if you're looking for a book, so this is one that I'm writing now, but I do have another one out. It is called The Forgotten Son. So the one I'm writing is historical fiction, and The Forgotten Son is kind of like a Celtic fantasy. So if you like 18th century Scotland with some of the Gaelic lore and myths and legends and things to do with, we'll say, fairy lore, you can check out The Forgotten Son. It tells the story of Katrina and Tristan and an age-old prophecy that was got put into motion after they met. And not everything is as it seems. And that's all I'm going to say. But if you like Scotland, if you like Outlander, I mean, I wrote the initial story for this way before there ever was an Outlander, even in book form. But yeah, but it's kind of like a cross between Outlander meets a little bit of Lord of the Rings type deal. So if you like that kind of thing, you may like The Forgotten Son. So I will put a link down to it. You can purchase it off of Amazon. I know some people are not trying to avoid that over Christmas, but that is how you can purchase my book. With large reach from no matter where you're at. So, and it does support me. So anyway, I will link to The Forgotten Son down below, and I'm going to leave it here for tonight because I think I'm just going to watch some YouTube or something like that and chill for the rest of the evening. So thank you so much for watching, friends. Stay safe and be well, and I'll see you in the next video.